evening, and thank you all for joining us tonight at 6 o'clock, July 17th, time for our regular scheduled board meeting. Tonight, I've asked County Administrator Randy Harris to open us up the invocation and pledge. Would you stand?
Bow your heads, please. Father, we praise you and thank you that you bless us so mightily and abundantly. We ask your blessing this evening on our community and on these proceedings. And for this meeting, we ask that you give us all wisdom and guidance and counsel from above. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the July 3rd, 2018 regular scheduled board meeting. Have any changes or anything that needs to be addressed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I've got a motion to approve by Commissioner Richardson, second by Commissioner Sessions. Was there any changes or anything? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have 2 through 7. On item number 7, I think there was one thing Mr. Harris wanted to address real quick.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I didn't want to pull this item, but it requests authorization to bid for the replacement of that log and recorder. I just wanted the motion to include the opportunity for us to procure that through some competitively bid government contract. That's a part of your procurement policy, but we left that language out in this particular request for action. If we can't find it in a government bid contract, then we're asking for authorization to go ahead and bid that item out.
All right, is that it on that one?
Yes, sir.
So that would include the government contract, and if you can't go off that, a bid.
Right.
Any other items wishing to be pulled? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve 2 through 7?
2 through 6, you're going to have to do 7 separately.
Okay.
Motion approved.
I got a motion to approve 2 through 6. Do I have a second?
Second.
That's a motion by Commissioner Fleming, second by Commissioner Hale. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, going on to item 7, authorization to advertise for bids for a login recorder replacement for dispatch communications. Motion also to include competitive government contracts. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Sessions, second by Commissioner Richardson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, item number 8, set and date, time, and location for tentative and final budget hearing. Clerk of the Court, Barry Baker.
I have to say, gentlemen, is seeing all of you up there dressed up in your suits, I feel a little underdressed. But I have to say, all y'all look nice enough. Whenever I die, I might consider letting y'all carry me out in the casket, all right?
Oh, no. Okay.
It's all that being said, it's where at the last meeting is where that we had our tentative budget, it's the setting of our tentative millage. It's where that tonight is where that we need to set the dates for that. We have provided from our office a copy of the trim timeline that Eric has put together. It's where that we are asking if you would consider the time and location of setting the tentative budget hearing for Thursday, September 6th at 5:30 at the Judicial Annex, and the final budget hearing as Tuesday, September 18th at 5:30. And it'll also be here in the Judicial Annex.
All right, does anyone have a motion or a second?
Chairman, before, you said that both of them going to be in September, September the 6th and the 18th?
Yes, it'll be Thursday, September the 6th at 5:30 here in the Judicial Annex for the tentative, and the final would be Tuesday, September 18th at 5:30, also here in the Judicial Annex.
Ready.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
question on the 18th. trying to verify a trip that I've got on my calendar. I'm trying to make sure that it's not the case.
Should be the third Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be normally our commission.
Regular
meeting, so
scheduled board meeting.
Normally I wouldn't do that, so I'm thinking that it's not. In fact, I know that it's not. We're good. Sorry for that.
Anyone else? We have a motion to approve and accept these dates.
Motion approved.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming. Did I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mr. Baker. All right, moving on to item number 9, is county attorney item, discuss consideration and contract for special counsel for opioid litigation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Several months ago now, you approved of moving ahead with, obtaining special counsel for the opioid litigation with Rod Smith's group down in Gainesville. This is a contingent fee retainer agreement that's pretty standard throughout, the legal profession here. The Aver and Smith is the one that, we talked about in Gainesville. These are the other parties to the contract are associated counsel with them in the litigation. The only thing that's a little bit different about it is I clarified in paragraph 6 and just added language to make sure that no matter what happens in any of this thing, in no event will the county be responsible for any costs or fees if there's no recovery. And in addition, even if we do make a recovery and the costs and fees end up being more than whatever the recovery is, we're limited to the recovery. Just something little different there. And finally, the last 3 pages of it are the client's statement of rights, which are required to be reviewed and signed by all clients when you have a contingency fee agreement. I've been through all the rest of all of this. The statement of client rights is appropriate, and it's the standard agreement. And I offer it to you and recommend that you go ahead and execute it this evening.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Pravat from the board? Hearing none, we'll have a motion to,
Make motion to execute.
we got a motion by Commissioner Sessions,
Second.
accept and enter into the contract. Got a second by Commissioner Richardson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Item number 10 was discussion and consideration of a lease agreement with Powell at the Douglas Center property. That has been pulled. We're going to have it back on the agenda probably at the next board meeting. We'll move on to staff reports. Randy Harris, County Administrator, Slavish Public Works Director. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm prepared to be brief. Do you have any questions? Our staff asked that I take 30 seconds or less, so I'm going to try this. Good news. I had a meeting with DOT. Was that yesterday morning? I can't even remember now.
I think it was
that last
the-
week.
That was
In any
last
event,
week. Yesterday was
Suffice it to
Anderson's
say
meeting.
that the traffic signals at 129 and I-10 are now on the DOT's plate. That's a good thing. The other side of that is that it could be 5 years before those actually materialize, which isn't unlike the overhead mast lighting that Commissioner Fleming had started working on probably close to 7 years ago now. But in any event, that's good news, and I'm thankful to hear that. Turn lanes at Pilgrims on West US 90, they sent me an email. We had talked about that in the meeting. DOT has actually completed the drawing, the design work of that. They're going to send it to central office for final processing and advertisement on August 27th. So those turn lanes will go out there at the plant at some point. I don't know when. Restrooms in the pavilion cover on the back of the gymnasium at the Douglas Center are almost complete, getting very close. And I'll go ahead and point out, in fact, it's under informational items, that on July 26th at 9 o'clock, we're going to have the unveiling of the Florida Heritage Landmark Historical Marker at the Douglas Center. It's actually in our shop right now, very nice sign. So, in fact, Mr. Ford might comment on that as well. I might have stole your thunder tonight, but that's coming up next week. Pardon me? There you go. The property next to the property that the county owns at the Catalyst site on the south end. For those that were on the bus tour the other day, I commented that that was a valuable piece of property. The Board of County Commissioners had recognized that years ago and instructed me to work on trying to obtain the property. At that time, Chairman Bashaw and I drove to Jacksonville, spoke with Center State Bank, who had that additional 64 acres. It's contiguous to ours on the west side. They wanted $15,000 an acre for it. We felt that was kind of steep, so we folded and walked away. In any event, about a month and a half ago, I received an email where they decided that it was worth less money, a little over $3,000 an acre. And we are well invested. The Board of County Commissioners made enormous investments out there in the development of the site. We got the rail spur going on now. The turn lanes are almost finished. They're not quite complete yet. 169th was reconstructed, and 167th, and the water plant and other things that we've done. Now, thankfully, I think better than 2/3 of that's been funded with grants that we've worked hard to procure, and we're about to wrap up all of our improvements out there under those agreements. But I met with the Development Authority, I don't know what night it was.
Last Thursday.
Was it last Thursday? My days and nights run together anymore. I attend so many meetings. In any event, the Development Authority has agreed to purchase the property and offer the County Commission an option on the property. And there will be a small fee that we would have to pay to keep them whole on an annual basis, and that agreement will come back to the Board of County Commissioners on one of your regular agendas sometime soon. But I wanted to share that with you because I know that some of you have asked me about that over time, and the timing was just right. We didn't have to reach out for it. They actually contacted us in this case. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful that, you know, with all the other things we've got money tied up in, that we're not having to come up with the cash to make that purchase right now. So that agreement will come back to the board a little bit later. Now I want to talk briefly about the rail spur. The rail spur has not progressed the way that we had hoped that it would progress under the terms of the contract. The chairman, county attorney, and myself, and Mr. Bailey with North Florida Professional Services had a meeting with the contractor yesterday morning. Had an extensive conversation. We helped them understand that it took us over 3 years to obtain the grants necessary to fund that rail spur. All of those grant agreements come with terms and conditions, and with the first grant that we obtained, we've really stretched those terms and conditions regarding the amount of time that it's taken. But it did take that much time because CDBG funds alone took over 18 months to secure that agreement. In the contract with the company, they were given 6 months to construct the rail spur. At the same time, they were constructing the turn lanes out there on US 90. And I had inquired a little over a month ago on June the 11th as to what was going on. I want to say for the record that there was an issue that had to do with CSX and a fiber optic line that they had in their right-of-way that had to be relocated. That took about a month, maybe a month and a half. But during that same time, none of the work outside the right-of-way was started. and it could have been, in my opinion. In fact, all of the work outside of the CSX right-of-way could have begun back right after February the 22nd, when we issued the notice to proceed. So there was a lot of time that passed that nothing was occurring out there. And we discussed that in that meeting yesterday morning, and tried to help them understand that it's important that we get this thing wrapped up very quickly. The rain started. It's a mess out there now because of all the clay. But the contractor assured us that they were going to get on the project and stay on the project. They didn't disagree that nothing had been started. They had worked about a week and a half in the last 4.5 months doing some clearing and grubbing in the CSX right-of-way, but thankfully they have begun. Clearly, it's going to go beyond the 6 months, and we may have another follow-up conversation about that at a later date. But what I want to emphasize is this. There is absolutely nothing that the county could have done in addition to what we had done that could have sped the process up so far as anything that we could have done for the contractor. When I spoke to them on June the 11th, they told me that they wanted to use the same crew that was building the turn lanes, but they were informed at that time that that contract had nothing to do with the rail spur contract. Those were two entirely separate contracts with their own timelines. They were not commingled. And more importantly, they're different sources of revenue. The really important thing about this, though, that I emphasized in the meeting is that Suwannee County cannot jeopardize our relationship with the grant administrators. I think everyone on this board and in the public that follows these meetings recognizes how important those grants are to us. I mean, literally everything that we're doing with economic development, not only with utilities, but a lot of these road projects too that have been associated with economic development, are critical to this county, and we wouldn't be able to fund those ourselves. So I just wanted to share with you that we are behind on the timeline. The contractor is on that particular contract, and we have informed them that it is imperative that that project get wrapped up as soon as possible. The rains are going to continue to make it difficult, but they are making progress. Yesterday when they left the meeting, I got a call back. I think the chairman was still there, informing us that they were out there on the project, moving materials and working in the CSX right away. CSX has already delivered their spur, the turnout off of the main line. It's sitting out there beside their tracks in their right away, and their other materials. But our contractor has to build that up to the proper elevation in order for CSX to make their installations and complete that portion, very small portion that they're actually going to perform in that right away. But I wanted to give you an update on that project. And I think that's all I have for you right now, unless you have questions.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Harris?
In that contract, Mr. Chairman, in that contract, if they're not finished by the time that it was allowed, that they don't get penalized for that?
There's a $1,000 per day penalty in that contract.
Dogs, cats.
And honestly, the takeaway from this discussion is the significance of these grants and our relationship as it pertains to the grant administrators. That really is the single most important thing associated with any of this, is that they need to perform. And they understood, the representative of the company that was in the meeting recognizes that if Suwannee County cannot continue to procure these grants, then the contractors have nothing to bid on, because we can't fund these types of projects. Simply cannot do it. And it has taken years to build the relationships that we have. So we have to take that very seriously.
Any other questions?
No.
Thanks, sir. Moving on into general business, item number 12, discuss possible board action agreement with Suwannee County School Board regarding utilization of school facilities as storm shelters. Back to Mr. Harris.
Oh, I don't know what to tell you about this, except that it's a legislative mandate. There were some minor adjustments made in the agreement that you have before you. Essentially, what FEMA is requiring is that the Board of County Commissioners pay for the use of shelters when the school board opens their facilities up, and then the county commission would have to seek reimbursement from FEMA. I can tell you that we are hoping that the money comes from the last event that we had. I think all of the counties in the state are still waiting. You know, we keep getting reports that some FEMA funds are going out for various purposes, but we haven't seen the reimbursements that we had hoped for by this time, and certainly in other events that we've had, the reimbursements from FEMA have come sooner. But now, what's occurring, and, you know, the mandate that's coming through the state is actually coming from the federal government. They're saying that we have to have an agreement with school boards. If we're utilizing their shelters for evacuation purposes, then the county commission has to reimburse the school board, where previously the FEMA reimbursed the school board. So that is going to be a significant change. We'll have to throw a couple of extra car washes and bake sales to make sure we've got adequate funding for that reimbursement. And then we'll be waiting. The reality is we're going to be waiting for the reimbursement from FEMA once this is in place.
All right. Any questions?
I have a concern.
Yes, sir.
And I think this concern, I think everybody's been asked this question. The last time we had an emergency, we had animals in the schools, and then the school has to do a lot of cleanup. I mean, a lot of sanitizing, because there's kids in there that go to school that have allergies, and so there's lots of problems about having animals in the schools. So, of course, everybody, like we did originally, we want the animals to be in the Coliseum. So, spoke with council a little bit ago, you know, and he talked that we probably had a study done to see if the Coliseum would withstand, you know, the new wind codes.
It will not.
And so how far off are we, or is there a way out? Because, you know, if we pay the school board for the cleanup too and everything else, it's just going to cost us more money, you know, and we're going to have to ask for more reimbursement. So I think it's a catch-22 here, that the school board and the people, you know, the citizens of the county are concerned about the animals that are there and some of the children that have issues, and the sanitation of the schools. I know we try to keep them all in one spot, but it's still extra work for the school board too. So it's a concern that maybe, how far off are we? I mean, is it because of its age? Is it because of its structural?
It's the structure, and you're not going to modify that building.
To where it's
Period.
can handle it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The high walls, it wasn't engineered for the hurricane codes. And, I mean, I think that this topic deserves a whole lot of conversation to see if we can come up with
We need some alternative.
some options to consider. But that particular building would not
Okay.
be able to be remediated to meet those codes.
So do animals deserve the same that people do as far as protection?
Well, there's more than one answer to that.
I know. Because a lot of them are out in the open during the storms.
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's just something I wanted to bring up, and I'm sure it's a concern of a lot of people in the county.
I'm sure that we're going to have more conversation about it. I had a conversation about it the first time we spoke at the EOC about this agreement.
Right.
But it's something that I don't have the answer to it now. I mean,
Okay. All right.
Provide a
I just wanted to
facility.
bring it up for discussion.
we're all aware of the problems that it creates for the schools and for the children. But we don't have the solution yet.
No. And even if we designate it, the governor in a state of emergency is the commanding officer, and he can change it, just like last time.
Right,
He
yeah.
told us not to
He
turn.
told us not to, I know.
I mean, so,
And-
turn anyone away.
That's what I say, because those people, it's not just the people of Suwannee County, it's people traveling from down south that come with their pets.
Oh, yeah.
And have nowhere.
I would like to see the Coliseum as
Certainly
to
it
a
can be
shelter, but
brought
if it
up.
doesn't meet the code, it doesn't meet it. Did we have an official study done on it? I don't think we have since I've been on the board, is why I'm asking.
It was even before I had spoken to Mark about it, and they'd looked at it years ago. And, I mean, I'm very much aware, you talk to any building contractor, they know that the age of that building is never going to meet the hurricane codes. Engineers could walk through there and they could say it right now.
It's lasted longer than all of
But
it.
it was done, well, listen, I've looked at some old cracker houses sitting on little concrete blocks all over the place that.
They're still there.
A lot of hurricanes.
I wouldn't write it out on one of them, but they're still there.
From a liability standpoint, that,
Well, I didn't know if it was because of the high-rise windows in it, and I know now they got hurricane screens that can go over them and different things. I didn't
no,
know.
it's a lot of structural issues. It's just simply the integrity of the building. It won't meet the codes. You'd be better off, if you wanted to try to accommodate all these animals at a separate location, building a facility for that purpose with a much lower ceiling and build it to meet the codes and make it as simple as possible.
I don't have no desire to build a shelter.
Just not,
But I promise you it'd be cheaper
Contract
than
with
trying to do anything
society.
to that building.
unless you build a community center that you can use for lots of things, and then it become something that you can use for.
Well, if we have a nice community center, I'd rather the pets go to school.
That's right.
Well, but it's easier to sanitize one community center than it is a whole bunch of wings of a school and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the problem too that came up, it isn't just the floors and everything inside the facility, it's outside when people take all those animals outside and relieve themselves.
No.
Right.
All that has to be cleaned up before those children can be
So I'm saying if we
out
had
on the grounds. I mean,
a
it's a big
location
problem.
separate, it'd be easier to take care of.
Mr. Chairman, just one question. Could you remind me of what the cost was that was submitted to FEMA this past year for,
I don't remember. Sharon's here. Sharon, do you have that number?
Approximately 126,000.
For the shelters,
okay.
and that was probably the longest to show. Well, that was a long time. So I mean, that's probably a good number on an average storm to come in at that nature. All right. Any other questions? Any other concerns? I have a-
Other than what you're saying, I still don't know what it would cost, but I mean, if we're sure that the Coliseum would never pass, I mean, because there's Astrodomes and churches bigger than that people get in.
They were engineered differently, though.
True.
See, that thing was not engineered for those types of codes. In fact, a lot of your stadiums, the ones that you're speaking of, were not engineered for the hurricane codes that we have to comply with in Florida.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, just to set it to rest, I mean, I don't know, could we just ask engineering services for a task order just to see what a price would be on it? And if we want to move forward with that task order, we'll approve it. If it's more than we want to spend, we just won't do it.
Good idea.
And that'll kind of,
Then we'll actually get a study and understand where we're at.
know where we're at and whether it can or can't.
Right.
The average animal that we take in is shorter than 4 feet. If we built a building 4 feet tall and, just real long and wide, we might be able to do it cheaper.
Mr. Chairman,
It'd be nice if you could house them separate, but the fact of the matter
I
is,
know.
when the governor says open up a pet-friendly shelter, it's
You have
the
to-
pet and their human gets to go with them.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I know with all the codes and all the laws, that building have withstood every storm that have came. And a lot of houses around here. And I know with the codes, but who have determined that the Coliseum was not
It would have been an
safe?
engineer. I had called Mark. Is Mark here tonight?
I don't see him.
I had spoken to Mark about this. I think it was right after I met, regarding this issue a month or so ago.
And I know things change over the course of time, but if we don't have a building in place, I think we should have a building. It's something that we should be discussing for the people in the community to go.
It isn't the problem for the people.
Yeah,
It's
but
the problem with
I'm
the
saying
building.
people too.
Most of your schools are built to the code of a shelter.
Yeah, they are. They are.
So as far as the human place to go, school's your first place they're gonna go.
With their pet.
That should,
They're not up to code for the animals.
no, they're up to code for the
But
animals.
it costs too much.
They are. The problem is when you're sending the animals into the school,
It's a
because
lot
people
of
want to
extra
take their
work.
animals with them.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes a problem.
And they have to clean all that stuff.
So that's why the Coliseum came up, and we send the people and their animals to the Coliseum for those people that have animals. And when I had inquired, spoke to Mark about it, he said that they had checked on this years ago and that it won't meet the hurricane codes. So that's
Put a
That's all I
couple
can do
extra
right now.
screws
But if
in
you want to do a task order, we'll give that, and we'll have an engineer take a look at
it.
it.
That's right.
Yeah, there may be something that we can add to it that may help it meet. I know I did talk with Suwannee Glass about the hurricane screens that they're putting on big windows down in South Florida, which is essentially basically a form of expanded metal.
But they work, I have them on a warehouse, they work.
Yeah.
They definitely work.
Anything else from the board? If not, I'll let the public speak. Mr. Alcorn?
Tim Alcorn, 14549 County Road 250. Just a resident of the county. I've got two grandyoungins who are highly allergic to cats. I would have never believed that could be, but it is. That's my biggest fear is we put the animals in these buildings. That, they call it pet dander, gets in the ventilation system. You can't get it out. And if one of them have an attack and we can't get him medical service in time, who's going to be responsible because we sat here and tried to save a few dollars on a building for some animals? I mean, that Coliseum may not fit. Mr. Harris, I beg to disagree with you. I think it'll pass an engineering study the way that thing's built. And it may not.
You don't have, I'm not.
But if
I
it's
don't have a
not, I'll be
position on it. I'm just telling you what
surprised. Yes.
Mark had
I
told
know
me
that.
when they
But-
looked into it.
But I don't think, I mean, I'm not saying that they haven't, but I don't think the county has ever had an engineering study done on that building. I don't believe. You know, and like I say, I've got two grandyoungins who are allergic to it, and I know there's others. I know there's others. And, you know, it's just going to take one of them. We put them right back in that school 3 days after the storm's gone. How you going to tell some parent that their kid had an attack and he's laying in a hospital right now unconscious because we didn't make that effort to check the building to see if it could take animals?
I don't think
I'd
anybody
like
has
us to
a
do
problem
the
checking
task
the
order. It
building.
may not, then we can back up and pump.
Find
But I
out.
would like for us to do that task order and just see if it'll pass or it will not pass. And that'll also put the public to rest.
Sure.
You know,
Yep, get it in.
because there's a lot of them that, just like Mr. Fleming, that thing's withstood, it's been there since what, 49 or 51 something?
Older than that, probably.
It's withstood everything that Mother Nature slung at it. I'll be surprised if it don't pass.
We'll find
Thank
out.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Pratt.
I'd like to note in paragraph 9 and 10, I guess before I left, go out of the country, I had sent a suggestion over with regard to adding on a sentence at the end of each of the paragraphs to the extent that failure to provide and documentation within the FEMA timelines constitutes a waiver of reimbursement by the school board. In paragraphs 9 and paragraphs 10. I just don't see it on the copy that made it into,
Into the agenda.
yes, sir.
So we're adding that sentence into those two paragraphs that the board would be approving tonight, if they approve it. Any other discussion, comments, questions for Mr. Pratt, Mr. Harris? What's the wishes of the board?
Let's do a study.
Do you want to do the study before entering into it, or?
I think you need, you're going to need to enter this agreement regardless, because this
Yeah.
doesn't even speak to that issue.
think
That's
that's a
really a
separate-
separate issue.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Chairman, I move to approve the resolution with changes made by council.
I got a motion to approve the interlocal agreement
Thank you.
by Commissioner Richardson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And for our next board meeting, Mr. Harris, think you can have,
Yeah, I have a task order.
have a task order for us to review? That
That's fine.
sufficient for everyone? All right. Moving on to item 13, discuss possible board action, any issues associated with the water or wastewater plant at I-75-136. Mr. Harris?
I really don't have a lot to tell you, except that we're still working on the surveying, and Mr. Alcorn's going to have that to us, I think, by the end of the week. That has to do with easements that we'll have to procure for the underground utilities, but a lot of the other pre-design work is underway on the water plant and the sewer plant as well. That's really where we are right now on that.
All right, moving on to item 14, additional agenda items. We had a few that kind of came out of this meeting we had with Anderson, Columbia yesterday over some of these roads. So we'll go on to the first one. There's approval of a letter of support to Suwannee Valley Transit to efforts to obtain better utilized investments to leverage development. Mr. Harris, do you want to elaborate on that for anybody?
I think this is a grant to try to evaluate some transportation improvements, and I think ultimately if we can secure other grants for improvements around here, this particular study and report will need to precede that, so this is an opportunity for us to have someone put the grant application together for that particular purpose, to have the study done and a report produced.
All right, any questions? Any discussion? Have a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Richardson, second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, moving on to item 2, approval of payment in the amount of $515,947.99 to Anderson, Columbia for work associated with the 129th Road Budget Impact funded by DOT.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, all three of these, number 2, 3, and 4, would otherwise typically show up on your processed invoices, but from this meeting we had yesterday, there was some question about us getting some of these payments out. Well, some of these had not been finalized by DOT, but I got an email late yesterday on at least one of these, and another one is just a percentage of completion payment. So the request is that all of these go ahead and be processed, because you won't meet again for, I think, 3 weeks now. That way we can turn these payments loose.
We take them all at once, or we need to take them one at a time?
One at a time.
One at a time. Any questions? So I have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming. Have a second?
Second.
Question.
Commissioner Hill. Got a question, Mr. Richardson, go ahead.
Are we approving all 3 payments?
No, we got to do them one at a time.
One time. Okay, thank you.
So this would just be item number 2, the $515,000 for 29th Road. Got a motion by Commissioner Fleming, second by Commissioner Hale. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Number 3 is approval of payment in the amount of $308,039.96 to Anderson, Columbia for work associated with 152nd Street and 225th Road, which is also the County Road 252 extension. Budget impact is DOT. Same thing here, though.
Move to approve.
Are we happy with this particular road?
Don't know that we'll ever be happy with it. I'm not gonna lie to you about it. I'm not. But I think we probably got as much as we're gonna get out of it.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I got a motion to approve by Commissioner Richardson. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Fleming. I know most of y'all were there for the tour on this road. And I don't know, Jimmy, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to it, but from what they've done, the corrections they made, I mean, it's still ugly. But I mean, other than re-pouring the whole road, I don't know what else to do.
Mr. Chairman, can you explain just
There were some spots in the road where when we did the road's fine. The initial road was
Pavement,
fine.
right, that's right.
Where they did the 18-inch expansion on each side of it, had some places where the road was breaking loose from the base and actually sliding off of the base about 8 inches, and had some places where the grass was coming up actually through the asphalt. We went back and we flagged the areas. They went back and cut out the asphalt and the base. They put what they call, correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy, a black base, which is basically an asphalt base back down, and then they came back over with the 1.5 inches of asphalt on those areas. So, I mean, the other parts of the road are holding up. It's just not pretty, and hopefully the rest of it will continue to hold.
Mr.
All due
Chairman,
respect to Anderson Columbia, I'd say that the 180th down in my neck of the woods, same thing was done on, had its share of issues as well, and it's not pretty either.
Yeah.
But I think we've fixed having to go back and do things like that.
The not pretty part I can deal with. I didn't like the fact that I could have baled hay off the asphalt. That was parts that was a problem. I don't know if any of y'all made it up and down it, but I got pictures of it. There's places you couldn't see asphalt, it's about the grass.
We mow the sides of the road, not the road.
Exactly.
Yeah, on 180th, 180th did not have those
None of
types
those
of problems.
No, we didn't. It's just they didn't cut down some of the edges of the roads where they turned into the driveways and such, so it's kind of bouncy.
Yeah, but,
did it pass the studies, the DOT checklist, the
yeah, we
criteria?
called for additional borings.
Yeah, all that passed?
Anderson went out there and bored it, and I had North Florida, Jimmy called for some borings, and the borings, I mean, it was right amount of base, right amount of asphalt. I really don't know what it was making the grass come through it. And it's funny, the road runs straight and then makes a 90 and runs back the other way, and where it makes the 90, it didn't do it. It's only on the 152nd portion of the road. And there were some places that were severe, and then there was other places that weren't. So I don't
Sure nobody
I don't know.
called you about it.
Hey, grass is
I
resilient.
didn't get a single phone call on it. You believe that?
Man, it's unbelievable.
It was. So, I mean, I'll do whatever y'all want to do, but I mean, I'm
We
kind
have
of
another
at,
payment to approve to them for the same road.
well, no, whether we're holding more than retention. We're holding 2 payments on it. But I mean, Jimmy, I hate to put you on the spot, but I believe we got what we're going to get out of it. Do you? Right.
Mr. Chairman, that's the question I wanted to ask. Ask Jimmy, because if we go out there and you get it done all over again, if you take it to court, it will probably cost us more money to make sure that it's fixed and it turn around and happen again.
Right, and you got to remember, this was a 2-step process. The initial resurfacing of the road, there's no issues with. So the battles over the 18 inches on each side that we widened it. And other than the fact that it's really and truly, it should have been done all at one time. But, everybody knows the story sitting up here. It didn't play out that way.
That's right.
Now, they did make the comments that it was bad design and it wasn't going to work from the beginning, but they did sign off on the change order saying that they could make it work. So that's,
Well, they got me.
and right now it's holding up, so it's just ugly
It'll be one of the few paved roads in the county that we mow from time to time.
from time to time.
Increase traffic on it, and it'll just go away.
I don't know, I mean, that stuff, they sprayed it and it killed everything, and I don't know if it's gonna come back or not, but
Well, the places they sprayed were the gap between the extension and our several roads that we had added, that we have widened in the past, and you'll see grass come through that, so that's not untypical for it to come through the joint. The places that were concerning me weren't the joint. It was, right dead center of the 18 inches. So. All right. Any other questions, comments? So, what, we gonna pay them, not pay them? I don't know what y'all want to do.
Motion and a second.
Did I have a motion and a second? Yeah, I got a motion by Commissioner Richardson, second by Commissioner Fleming. No more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
We got a, I think we have one opposed or two? Two. Those, Hale and Sessions.
I mean, I guess to continue the discussion, Jimmy, not to put you on the spot, but is there nothing more that can be done from an engineer standpoint to?
There's lots of things you can do that are gonna cost more money. For the scope of work, it was a supplemental agreement, I don't know, there's a whole lot we can ask on it.
The scope of work, the amount of money we're talking about for the scope of work was what, Jimmy? $360,000, the change order? Right. So it was a was it $6 or $1.9 million total project? Closer to $2 million. So I want to say part of this is for the original road, and then part of it's for the change order. And like I said, the original road's not it's not a debate. The original road was fine. It was just an 18-foot wide road, which it needed to be widened. And I can tell you,
I guess, are the aprons gonna hold up as long as an apron added on should, I guess is.
that's been the big concern from
Yeah.
the beginning. But, I mean, our only choice is to not pay it and go to court over it,
And they'll keep us in court forever, they got
or
plenty of money.
pay it. I mean, that's the two choices. Everything we've asked them to do as far as the repairs, they've gone out and repaired. I don't like the way it looks. I wish we hadn't done it that way. But I mean, it's passed all the boring tests. Where they went back and put the base down, they redid the base. They redid it with black base, which was better than the asphalt, so they put a better base down the second go around. And I think they did close to 1,500 feet, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 feet of repair. So,
Mr. Chairman, of the amount that we just approved, how much would you say was involving the original road versus the,
well, because you got two amounts, you got, and then
the second one
the
still to
second
go,
one, so
third
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I just know if you add both those together, I believe that total number is a little bit higher than what the change order was. Right, and there's $481,000.
Yeah.
Of the project, so,
So we're holding the retainage of 171 right now? That's the retainage. Thank you. That's what I want to know.
okay. Yeah. Ms. Hill, any other questions on that one as far as discussion?
No.
Moving on to item number 4, approve payment amount of $173,481.43, Anderson, Columbia, for work associated with 152nd Street and 225th Road, County Road 252 extension. Same road, same problem. But this is the retention. This will close the road out and close that project out. Any other questions?
How long typically do we have the right to hold the retainage before, to know that these repairs are going to work before we're in default?
You don't have the right to hold the retainage for that purpose. You have the right to hold the retainage until the engineer and the company, the engineering company says that it's 100% complete.
And DOT.
And
And
DOT.
DOT's approval.
Their final approval as well.
And DOT was the one we were waiting on. DOT signed off on it yesterday.
Right.
This runs right through the heart of my district. I mean, there's nobody more sick about it than me, I can tell you. But I just don't see what else you're gonna get out of them. I mean, we can pick a fight if you wanna pick a fight, but
You won't win.
you're not gonna win this one.
Well, if I might, Mr. Chairman, if you're going to pick a fight, you're going to have engineering support to say that it's not done correctly. We've had the testing that's done, and DOT's done their testing that says that it does comply. May not be pretty, but it complies with what the specifications and everything are at this point. I'd like to have some ammunition, if we're going to go in there and have a fight. But in this particular circumstance, I don't see it.
I think you do it right.
I guess the question better asked, Mr. Richard, I think where you're going along is like, what's the warranty or the guarantee that we have on the road or the project? And is there a timeline that they warranted? Was it 12 months from completion, or? Is it?
It's 4 years is what the statutory on just the work itself. If you have 5 years on all of the terms under the agreement, because it's a written agreement. So you still have 5 years to be able to complain. Typically, they offer the 1-year warranty, to be able to come back and fix anything and everything without any questions. After the 1-year period of time, it becomes a matter of whether it's a latent defect or not that needs to be corrected. And you have up to a 5-year period of time to correct those.
I guess safe to say, or not safe to say they'll come back, but if another 18 inches of it slides off the base, we can make the case for them to come back. But
When was that?
when you're holding $400,000 of them, it's still like pulling teeth from an alligator to get them to come back. So when you pay them off, it ain't coming back. But, yes, sir?
When was that apron put down? Was it last year? 2 years?
December.
December.
What was one the other in the county put down?
Do what now?
On 180th, when was that one put down?
I think they were put down at the same time, weren't they?
About
We approved them at the same time. They went down pretty close at the same time. December, January, somewhere in there.
Yeah, close to the same time.
What's the wishes of the board?
I made the motion on the last one.
Offer motion to approve, Chairman. Someone want to question it?
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Fleming. Do I have a second? Now, if y'all don't feel comfortable approving it tonight, that's fine. If y'all want to talk to Mr. Jimmy and North Florida, and some of you want to have a conversation with Mr. Pravat, more than fine waiting on it. But I mean, I feel like y'all probably gonna come to the same conclusion after you do of
Unfortunately.
the conclusions, because I've been working on it for the past 4 months, hard.
But could I say something?
Yes, sir.
I mean, we've heard from council and Mr. Pittman. We're digging ourselves in a hole if we were to fight it. And it's gonna drag out and drag out and drag out, and then after getting the engineers, as you said, having more borings done, and getting it redone, you're gonna run into more problems, then may run into more problems after that.
Yep.
I can't say that it's not the tar, they're not utilizing. I do know that earth shift and move, and when automobiles get on there, heavy trucks, and I know heavy trucks be on that road, it's gonna move. So, I'll say this, I was talking with an airline pilot last week, and talking about the wings, how they move on the plane. He said it can't be stiff. So they got to give. So every now and then those roads probably going to give, probably going to have little issues with them every now and then. I mean, it ain't pretty.
People do fly on our roads, so they do need to be kind of flexible.
So that's why I offer the motion to go ahead and let's end it, be through with it.
All right, well, hearing no second, motion dies for a lack of a second, and I just have Mr. Harris put it on the next agenda. And if y'all want, anybody that's got questions, just,
Yeah, I mean, I guess You know, I will second the motion based on what council has said and Mr. Pittman and the discussion we've had. I mean, obviously, if we don't move on it and decide we want to do something different, what I'm hearing is it's just going to cost the taxpayers more.
And it's not, DOT won't fund the lawsuit. That'll
That's
be
right. Yeah.
coming out. And Mr. Pravat said
So-
he'll fight them as long as we will pay him.
Right. So therefore, I will offer a second, unless someone else on the board wants to table it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just simply would feel more comfortable with having a conversation, a little bit more conversation about this. Given another month, I think that maybe we can work out something to make sure that there's not going to be question on this expansion part of it, at least. If something happens in the next year that, I know we've got this sort of like bumper-to-bumper warranty on it for the first year, but beyond that, I want to have some assurances that we're not going to see some of the same stuff happen, and then have to fight some sort of battle with the company to try to get them to fix it within 5 years. It's one of those things that I just feel like it's brought to us right now. You've done 4 months' worth of work on it. Is there anything that we can do, Mr. Pittman, that would help alleviate our concerns in the future that we haven't already done, and conversations that we haven't already had?
I don't know if there's anything you can go out and do construction-wise without incurring additional expense. I mean, I think we should probably just reassure ourselves on what kind of warranty and protection we have under the existing contract.
Which is a conversation with council, as well as, do you think that Anderson is going to budge off of anything that they've signed on giving us additional assurances? Considering this already happened.
What day of the week it is, and you know how it's going for the guy you're asking, but, as much work as they have currently going on, and as much as they're stretched thin, I don't look for a whole lot of charity at this point.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask council a question?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
If we, since there's a warranty there, have we ever written a letter or talked about any recourse if we see a certain problem, and it's obvious to all of us that there is a problem here, and we do have this warranty, but is there any more recourse, I guess you'd say, if we say specifically, you need to look at this, you know, we need to come back and visit this in a year and a half, 2 years, and come out and have the engineers revisit it and make a point in time in the future? Is there a way we can schedule something like that to be able to bring it back up for our own benefit versus everybody forgetting about it and it crumbles and we're working on the sides of the roads and trying to repair it ourselves?
Well, I don't think that you're going to see that they're going to be scheduling something out there during that period of time. Whenever you approve the release of the final payment there, the bonding on the job, the performance will also be released. Bonding company usually would be on the hook for a 1-year period of time for any defective performance, during that period of time. So, you'll get a chance to be able to look at it for that 1-year period of time and then make your complaint, during that period of time. Now, if there's some other thing that's out there, like I talked about with a latent defect where you cannot, or we could not discover it, before this, we have a 5-year period of time, to be able to find that. And we can always, go back and request them, to look at it. But you're releasing the funds now and then releasing the bond and going to release that liability within a year's period of time.
The year starts from that time?
It'll be
Starts from
from
the day we,
the day we,
today.
the day that they're paid.
Yeah. I just think it's something, I know I won't be here next year within a year, but I think somebody needs to be looking at it before the year's up and hold them accountable if need be.
And I would suggest you put it on the list somewhere, Mr. Harris, in the Public Works Department for, for a review on this. Same with Mr. Pittman, to
May
be able
1st
to.
next year, something like that.
If it comes up as fast as it did before, we'll know before the end of the
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
Because it came up pretty quick. I can't explain why that happened. I mean, I looked at it, I was as puzzled as everyone else. And from what I've heard, they did the cores out there, and it met the specifications that were designed into that addition to the road. So, it's just one of those things in the industry that occasionally some crazy thing happens and no one can explain it. But that one definitely is just a crazy, absurd thing. The contractor did not set out to make that happen, that's for sure. I think they set out to do the job according to the spec. I don't have any reason to believe that they altered anything from the spec, but I can't explain why that grass is coming up through the asphalt either in those areas. One thing that we might consider, if they would agree to it, is some additional guarantee on this addition, since we have experienced this problem already with the grass. You could direct the county attorney to put some type of an agreement together and see if they want to sign something extending some consideration to that part that wasn't replaced when the 1,500 feet was done, and see if they want to agree to sign that for the release of this retention.
So you're not adding additional, talking about additional guarantees on what was repaired, but on the part that still didn't need to be repaired?
It wasn't replaced.
It's not replaced.
Because there are areas out there they sprayed with Roundup or something.
Yeah.
They told us they were going to do
They,
that.
the areas where it wasn't coming up through and it wasn't all the areas, and the areas that it wasn't severely coming up through the road, and it was mainly on the seam, they treated that with Roundup. The places that it was penetrating through the overall 18 inches, they dug up, put the black base down, and put the asphalt back on top of it.
Mr. Chairman, have you accepted the second from Mr. Hale? Or are we back to?
Well,
I know you,
I know he made a second, but I'd already declined, the motion had already failed for lack of a second, so
Yeah.
if we're going to approve it, then I'll need another motion in a second.
Offer motion again.
I got a motion by Commissioner Fleming to approve it. Do I have a second?
Before we sing it, Mr. Chairman, can we ask for that additional, that if,
Is that doable?
can you do that?
No, sir.
Based on that? No?
No, sir.
That would be amending the existing contract that the engineer and everybody else is
That's
saying
why I
is
was asking.
complete.
Yeah.
We can't force that. We can
No.
ask them if
No,
they
yeah.
would voluntarily agree to it, though.
Right.
But we can't force the issue.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can we table this until next meeting and
I
give
don't
them
have
a
a,
chance to
I don't
ask
have a
that
problem with
question?
that.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, we'll
You don't have a second, so there's nothing.
No,
They
to
don't have a
yet.
table.
Yeah.
so I just wanted to kind of preempt Commissioner Hale down there a little bit.
That's fine. If I don't have a second, then the motion will die for lack of a second, and we'll let everybody have a chance to talk with Mr. Pittman, Mr. Pravat, anybody else you want to, and discuss it at the next board meeting,
Okay.
or the next one.
Okay.
Or the next one being our guarantee don't start until we approve it.
What's the timeline on it? What's the timeline on it?
That's horrible.
Sir,
What's the timeline on
when 3 of us are satisfied with it, that's the timeline.
And it's not in
it? Well, we
court.
may let it drag on out.
And I do recognize that I've worked on it a lot more than y'all have, and y'all are seeing it for tonight. So I do appreciate y'all's due diligence and the efforts that you're going to take to look into it. I think that was the last on the additional agenda items. At this time, call for public comments. Anybody wishing to speak could make their way to the podium, name and address for the record. Seeing none. Move on to item 16, administrator's comment. Did you get all yours out earlier, Mr. Harris?
Yes, sir. I'm finished.
All right, moving on to item 17, board members' requests and comments. Mr. Hale, we'll start down there with you. You got anything?
No, not tonight.
Mr. Sessions? Mr. Richardson?
Yes, sir, I do. This past week or so, we had another accident down at 248 and 49. Concerning, because this is, I know, at least second one in 6 months that we've had out there. They're pretty bad accidents. People just running the stop sign and coming across. I would like to see us do a safety study, because since there are roads, at least look at the crash data on it. Sheriff's Department and with the Highway Patrol, since we have already got approved funds to rebuild 49, at least that south section, I think it would be good for us to know whether or not we need to deal with that entire intersection area up there between Beachville and Beachville. We have 2 roads coming in. We have a spur. I would like to see maybe possibility of ending 248 on 49 and let them go down to the, let people turn down to the light, where we have one wave going in, so they have to stop. That was suggested to me. But I think it begins with understanding crash data on it right now.
You're talking, that's the intersection by the auction barn and the church? And
It's the intersection just this side of the auction barn and the church where 248, County Road 248 crosses over 49 and goes and dead ends at 247, State Road 247.
Okay.
Right by that,
There's a fenced-in lot there that had the welding shop, or the
Right.
store.
So I've actually seen a wreck at the 247-49 intersection there. And I think as we're coming through doing the resurfacing, that if we're going to look at realigning any interchanges or trying to do some safety improvements, that'd be the time to do it.
I know the safety study that for State Road 49 would be done through DOT, is that correct? Because it's a state road?
No, that's
we have,
49's a county road, isn't it?
No, I'm talking about
247.
crossing over the 240,
Oh.
State Road 247. Yes, the intersection area, because I believe that it would be wise of us to consider realignment. That is a dangerous intersection right there, but the accidents that continue to happen because we have a 2-way stop right short of that intersection that really, the very minimal should be a 4-way stop. Let everyone stop, but if they're running stop signs, they may run stop signs regardless. And the thought behind that is let's just understand how many crashes, should we change that intersection at 248 and 49 and possibly even eliminate a 4-way there when we get ready to pave that road? I just want to know ahead of time, so we're not doing it at the back end.
No, I would like, yes, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I would like for us to take a long, hard look at that. If we're going to be there, I mean, this is the time to do it. We don't need to repave it and then come back and we'll make changes later.
Yeah, I'd rather be inconvenienced by a stop sign than I would be losing more lives, I think that.
And I agree with those. That's a dangerous interchange down there. Yes, sir.
I think, Mr. Chairman, moving this board and future boards, I think every time we redo any pavement that comes across a major intersection, if it's an angled intersection, I think we ought to always put that in, try to put in perspective as to the cost of doing it and try to straighten out all of these angled intersections. I think it'll bring a lot more safety to the county. You know, we just can't do them all, but when you come to it, when you're paving, I think you ought to, and all future boards should consider trying to straighten out all these types of intersections.
I mean, makes sense.
If we're dealing with it, we might as well deal with the whole entire intersection. And, because I'll be honest with you, there are the 2 intersections, because as far as I'm concerned, I think there's enough traffic on 49 across the 247 that there ought to be a traffic light there, rather than just a flashing signal. But why put a traffic light there if you're not going to realign the intersection? And if you're realigning the intersection, you're going to have to deal with the other intersection sooner or later. So let's just get it all done at one time.
You can be hard-pressed to get a traffic light approved in there. You know,
I'll be
and
glad to go to
I only say
DOT.
that because of what we just did with Perimeter Road and 136.
Yeah.
I mean, and I drove over there and met with them on more than one occasion and
You've been to the VA hospital?
couldn't get it done.
I think at a minimum, though, we could
The realignment,
get the realignment took care of.
Someone told me, if you don't ask, you don't get, so.
yeah. And there's no problem with asking.
eliminate
We ask. A lot of times we don't get what we ask
We
for.
can eliminate.
He asked for lights several
Right.
years back.
Give it back to the owners and there'd be no road.
Mr. Chairman, also, to add to Mr. Richardson, what he was talking about, it may be something that we can add to a meeting that we go to in Columbia County. Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Sessions, and Mr. Weaver, he has been, and the sheriff, and Chief Summers, have been attending a meeting over in Columbia County where you have DOT and Columbia County Sheriff Department, they fire rescue, all their services, highway patrol, they collect all this data, and they look at all these roads. And it has been a blessing to Suwannee County concerning those traffic lights that Mr. Harris was talking about, that in the discussion, they asked about these type projects, where problems happen at, accidents, or, like, I think they keep mainly the fatalities. So this may be something that you can bring to the table at the next meeting. Would you care to say anything?
I'll be talking with the sheriff and the sheriff's office. What it is the North Florida Traffic Safety Council, which is all of North Florida, the different counties. And what we do is we bring into the forefront different problems that we have. Right now, we've been working on 129 and I-10, getting traffic signals there on the north side. We've been working on I-10 at the Columbia-Suwannee line to get a paved median gap where firefighters, paramedics, law enforcement can safely cross without jumping over a guardrail or going to the next exit. It's not an easy thing, as Mr. Harris alluded to get a traffic signal for this. It takes a major act of the Florida legislature to do it, but it can be done. And how we start is at the North Florida Safety Council and bring that to the forefront. We can call Captain Burrows with Florida Highway Patrol. He can get the analyst out for those intersections in question. You can go back as far as 5 years. That'll show every traffic crash, every injury traffic crash, every death, every non-injury, and any traffic citations that have been written there for running a stop sign, unlawful speed, DUI, etc. That can be pulled up and be emailed to the sheriff if he can disseminate that as we have in the past to the board. But there's nothing quick about putting a light. I've worked wrecks there as a trooper, as a traffic homicide investigator over the past 30 years. Sam and I have been to 50 or 60 there in our career. Should something be done? People should slow down. People shouldn't run a stop sign. People shouldn't drink and drive. People should wear their safety belts. People shouldn't be on their cell phones. They shouldn't be texting. It's not a perfect world.
Sure.
But it can be done. But you start at the bottom and work your way up.
I'm going to start at the bottom. Let's get it realigned.
Excuse me, Mr. If you would, please, identify yourself by name and address for the record, please.
Ken Weaver, Suwannee County Sheriff's Office.
Thanks, sir. All right. Oh, Mr. Harris, can you just make a note of that so that we
Got it.
get on that project that,
I have,
When we go back to that meeting, we'll definitely bring that intersection up,
Yeah.
Ronnie.
Jimmy,
Worth having a discussion
let's
about.
get together on that. You've already got that.
Mr. Fleming, you have anything?
Yeah, I took a flight. We went to Nashville, Tennessee, and Dr. Jackson, Commissioner Richardson, and myself, we were in Nashville, Tennessee, and we took a picture, and we received an award, Suwannee County, doing some great things. I can truly say that we're moving into the next future, to the future. We are progressing, and to receive a reward on the national level. And I got a book. Commissioner Richardson had a book, and all of those counties, all of those areas were big metropolis areas. here in a county with 44,000 residents, and they're called, we are on that list, that speak a lot of volume. So I'm proud that we went to receive the award. Didn't get a chance to tell them that we are looking forward to going back next year, but I'm not too much of a flight person.
And that award he's referring to was the National Association of Counties Award for the Economic Development portion of it, for the incentive grant program that we had for new and existing businesses to expand. The only thing that I have is, y'all had before y'all tonight some information about a joint workshop with the school board on July 24th. This is just a packet of, basically, that's going to be the information that we'll be going over at the workshop. I've kind of got a working knowledge on it. Myself, Superintendent, and Mr. Baker, and a couple others have been working on it for a while, but I wanted y'all to have plenty of time to look over it before the workshop next week. It's going to be about IT services and probably some communications as far as radio communications. After the Parkland shooting, there's been some changes in the statute on how IT from the Sheriff's Department and School Board and communications are going to work. So instead of having to go between the school boards and the Board of County Commissioners, we figured we'd just go ahead and put a workshop together so everybody could be face-to-face and we could kind of work some of the details out.
Very good.
Does anyone have anything else? If nothing, need a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second. Thank you all for coming out.